Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us back to yet another podcast brought to you by Grow Junction. In today's episode, we have with us Mr. Utkarsh Gupta, who's currently working as a computer scientist with Adobe. Hi, Utkarsh, and I hope that you're doing well.
Hello, Manasvi. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Great.
Thanks for
Uh,
asking.
my first question is please introduce yourself to our audiences so that we can all better connect with you.
Hey, I'm Utkarsh here. So I have a total of 6 years in experience in core Java, and I have been working as a cloud engineer in Adobe. So I have been working on Azure, AWS, Spring, more on top of Java and every technology currently that is in the market to build up the cloud systems. So that is all I can say about myself. Apart from that, I have an experience in working in Microsoft as an Android developer, and prior to that, I have experience with Samsung and Paytm while working with microservices.
Great. Okay. Now, I realized that while I was going through your LinkedIn profile that you've done your undergrad from IIT Patna. So my question is, how did you turn your dream of being an IITian into reality? Because I'm pretty sure everyone who opts for a science background definitely at least once in their life dreams of giving JEE exam and then turning it into a reality. So how did that unfold for you?
So I was quite interested in mathematics from class 8th only. So I started learning about different sort of formulas. I started reading about different books. So mathematics was some sort of driving force in the physics, chemistry, and maths. So I decided to pursue an IIT. So I went to Kota because my parents guided me for that, and they sent me to Kota in one of the institutes, one of the top institutes, where I started preparing very well for the IIT from the very beginning. I did proper time management, and I wrote different things in the diary, and I used to manage things because there was a lot of competition, and I used to take it seriously. I was not choosing any other option apart from the IIT. So that was the only option. In 2012, IIT was separate, IIEEE was separate. So these were the two options that were available to us. There were other options also that were available, but I was not looking into those options. I was 100% committed to cracking the IIT. So I focused on the time management and the chapters that were weak, especially. So I focused on chemistry because there is a lot to learn in there. I focused on physics because there is a lot to feel in there. So that's how I managed my IIT. And in the first attempt, I cracked IIT with a 4409 rank. So that's how I did it. And then I went to the college, computer science, got computer science in IIT Patna.
Yeah,
So that's
great.
how I made it there.
Great.
Thank
Now,
you.
it's just a follow-up question that also while I was scrolling through your LinkedIn profile, I've realized that you've done a couple of internships, also projects. Can you shed some lights on them?
Right. So it has been like first year when I was doing most of the coding, I was learning basic C, and then I moved to the Java in the very first year. In the second year, everyone was pursuing the projects. So I decided to pursue one myself. So I started with Android first of all because it was on top of Java framework. So I decided to work on the Android, and I got some ideas to work upon, but slightly during building up an application or something, I moved from Android to the research part when I met some PhD students. So those PhD students are working on some sort of problem in which they asked me for some sort of inputs and work. And because my coding background was good, I started working on some of the algorithms and I implemented them. And to the wonder, I showed them that it is better than the rest of the algorithms already present. So that paper was actually published, and then I actually presented it in one of the conferences, and that's how my second year internship actually went around the research. And then I went on writing one more research paper, and then I wrote about one journal also. So that's how my background was in research during my second year. In the third year, I actually contributed to the official internship of Robert Bosch, where I worked as a data scientist. So I used to work in R and used to do the mathematical analysis and used to come up with some energy consumption analysis in some parts of the Delhi city. So that's how I built up the internship around third year, and I have a proper knowledge about the data analysis in third year. After that was the placement. Fourth year was the placement part. So I concentrated more on the placement.
Great. I really like that you've actually used all of your years and you've contributed something or the other, and you were pretty sure about that you don't want to waste a year, and you took up internship right from the second year and then third year, and then obviously in the final year we're all looking forward to our placements. So great, no year wasted clearly.
Right. So this was more like a find understanding yourself. In the second year, I took the research internship to uh, to understand that whether I'm interested in research or not. Is PhD of my part or not? Is that the coding is of my choice or the PhD is of my choice? So I understood that okay, coding is good. So
Yeah.
I will stay with the coding. In the second year, in the third year I took data analytics, and I was happy with that. And I then I went off on placement directly.
Great. I find college is the best place to experiment because you can actually come
Right.
back to the place that you feel like, okay, if it isn't working out for you. So actually, you made actually the right choice. If you experimented a lot and then realized, okay, this is not working and this is something I'm actually good at. So you went ahead with it. So great. Just a follow-up question that since you are somebody who has had a couple of experiences with projects and also presenting yourself and your college at a international level, so I wanted to understand as to how our younger audiences can find these multiple opportunities.
So the younger audience need to understand themselves first. Whether some of the college students actually want to pursue UPSC, some of them want to pursue PhD and go to the research. Some of them want a job. So mostly nowadays the job is a new craze which is going on in the market. People actually are looking to do the coding part, and I also support the very same thing because I'm also from the very same background. I would like the junior students to actually focus on coding, because this will not only help them in getting a job, but also it will help them in their day-to-day life also. So doing a PhD, you have to implement something, for example. So doing a research and you have to implement, and there also the coding will help. So coding helps in many areas. It's just not related to hard coded way related to getting a job. It's more or less a broader picture of you can apply to different jobs, or you can get uh, good in lot of skills. So that is a skill that you have to get. So I would say that your coding should be good, and a command on one language is very important. So
Okay.
that's how the things go.
As you mentioned that towards your fourth year, you were more focused on the opportunities that were presented to you for your final placements. So right out of your placement scenario, you were placed with one of the big brands, which is Samsung. What advice would you give to your audiences, keeping in mind that it was your first job, and from the fresher's point of view, what are the things that you kept in mind while working for your very first company?
So the first thing that I would like to tell about to the juniors for getting into some big brands is to code properly, to understand the what you are writing, and for that you have to understand the language first, and then you should be knowing that whatever line you are writing, how it is impacting the RAM, the memory of the computer actually. So you should be knowing what you are writing. You should be good in algorithms and implementing them. It all depends upon the thinking ability. The more you have hands on the data structure, the more it becomes easier for you to code. So this is how you can get a placement into one of the big companies, and then there you can get to know about the different projects that are going on and can involve there, can take initiatives to work there, so that the people may recognize you. So visibility is very important for the junior developers, and I would like them to take the initiative to work in different sort of mini projects inside the companies also, and present different ideas. Be open to the company
Yeah,
and contribute to the project. That's how I will say.
absolutely. That's a great piece of advice. Take initiatives, be contributive. Also, I feel like you should also be able to communicate your ideas well. Because when there are a lot of
Right.
people starting from the same position, the only way to distinguish yourself is to be open and give your ideas, be as communicative as possible. Great. Now, moving on to the next question, our audiences would benefit a lot from developing an understanding of what does a day in the life of a computer scientist working with Adobe look like.
So basically, as I told earlier, I am currently a cloud developer and working on the Spring technology and AWS and Azure. I am working around these domains where I have to solve some of the bugs which come into the production, some of the alerts which come into the production, some of the features that I have to implement, and some of the design discussions that I have to do to build a particular feature. So this is around the coding part that we go into, and there is a lot of other things also, how you approach a problem, and that is done through the design discussions. I would like to tell my audience that here not only the coding is the thing, here high level design and low level design, which is known as the system design and the oops design, are very important to understand, and then only you can be able to build features in a better way. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Like while I was having a conversation with you prior to the recording, I realized, because we have scheduled this interview a couple of times, clearly because you were engaged with a lot of interviews. So the next question is around the same lines. You're constantly appearing for one interview or the other. So wanted to understand what the process is like.
So talking about the process, see, there are three things that come to any engineer's level who is doing the coding and everything. For any software developer, it is the first thing is the coding, the second is the high level design, and third is the low level design. Then comes the behavioral question, sort of question. So there are these four things primarily. It's coding, high level design, and low level design. So understanding the concepts is one thing, applying them to the real life is the other thing. So when you start giving the mock interviews on Pramp or some other websites, it becomes very easy to understand yourself, that where you are lacking behind, what you are able to think and what you are not, under pressure when you are actually giving the interview. So it becomes very easy for you to understand how to prepare for the interviews, and then you can move on with the actual interviews, the companies that you really want to crack. So that's the advice that I will give, especially focusing on the high level and low level. It takes some time to understand the problem, the requirements, and then we should actually discuss the problem and then design. So that's how the whole process goes on.
Okay, I wanted to understand, now that you have a certain level of experience, how often does a person having a good number of corporate experience have to revisit their books prior to appearing for any interview?
So it's always that we have to keep on preparing, because we as humans actually forget things. So that is a big thing. But the way you approach a problem is always constant. It will always remain the same. So if you forget some of the technology during the interviews, you may be able to think about the technology. The things are getting repeated more often. So but you always have to warm a little bit. So what you can do is you can start making the notes. You can make your small notes so that you can just go through them, and when those notes are written by you, it would be easier for you to just revise very fast before the interview. It took only 1 hour to revise each and every subject. It becomes very easy. So that's how. And coding is like, it's always like you should solve 1 or 2 problems daily for the coding, because practice is the most important thing and the biggest advice that I can give in terms of coding.
Great. My follow-up question would be, what advices would you give to our young audiences while they're preparing for any interview?
So I would say that code as much as possible. You should be having a strong hold on the basic data structures that are there. Competitive level of coding is not required. Also, with that, you should be having a proper command on the language that you are pursuing. Don't be confused with the two languages, whether to choose Python or Java. You can choose any one of the language and can start. I prefer Java from my end, because it's easy to read, it's easy to think in that language, it's more human friendly. So this is one thing. The other is you should start preparing for the system design from the very college point of time only. So the preparation that is needed or expected at 2 years of experience can be done in the college time, because there are a lot of resources to help you out, and the time is not that it was 5 or 6 years ago. So you can just go and you can think about the problems that are there, and you can like read about the technologies that are used. That is what high level design is all about. And there is nothing as the age that at which you should read about these things. You can start reading about these things from the college itself. It will automatically become very useful to you. So you can start preparing for all these three subjects: coding, high level design, low level design, from the very beginning.
Basically, start early from the college days, have a clear
From
vision,
the
and
start.
maybe start preparing towards it. It's a great reason.
Yeah. But I see that many of the people like are confused at lot of steps in their life. It can be that do I want to do coding, or do I want to do research, or do I want to pursue an MBA? So that becomes because the person itself is very fuzzy. He or she is not sure that what to pursue, and that becomes a problem, because then you are not able to concentrate on one thing 100%. So I would just like to say here that a person should be having a proper vision of what they want, and that's why this question is asked by the interviewers. How do you want to see where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? So this is the question behind that whether you have a clear vision about what things you will have to pursue, or do you know yourself or not? So the question is around that only, and I think that you should be having a clear vision about what you are doing.
Because you've just said it's one of the favorite questions of the interviews. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you have an answer of it right now? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
For
Switching
the
lines or being in the same industry?
being in the same industry but exploring different technologies, because there are a lot of different technologies that are coming right now. Blockchain is at the fire. Machine learning is also in very demand. It depends upon which region you are. Like in India, there is a demand of blockchain and machine learning, so we can focus on that, or any other different technology that comes into picture in 5 years. So I would like to advise people that they should be updated with the technologies that are coming, and can start working on them, because there the market is very hot and they could get opportunities. But keeping in mind that you should be good at three things: coding, high level design, and low level design. These three subjects are based to everything that you will build. So that's how the things go. These are the fundamentals of computer science, and that's why it is asked so much in the interview, because they want to check their fundamentals. So, yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. My last question would be, what keeps you occupied over the weekend?
So weekend I used to solve questions. Some of the questions I used to listen to the mock interviews to watch how the people actually responded, because sometimes I do not really want to get into the technological or mind consuming thing. So I sometimes watch the mock interviews. I sometimes do the coding interviews and do the high level design preparation or something related to that. I read books, or at the end on Sunday it's the time for movies and playing games. So I do spend my time doing all these activities, more of a fun activities, not
Great.
losing my Sunday. So there are some things that I would like to tell more to the junior developers as per the guidance point of view. For the coding, you can choose some of the sheets that are already present, some of the questions that are already present. You can visit, a lot of questions are there given by different authors, so you can go through all of them. You can choose one particular sheet and can do those questions. For the high level, you can read the book Designing Data Intensive Application by Martin Kleppman. And for the low level design, you can actually start preparation by hands, by actually writing the code, by actually performing the the analysis and writing classes.
Great piece of advice. I feel like even after years of being out of the four-wall learning methodology, you're still keeping yourself updated with all of the things which one requires.
Right.
You're still up to date with all the books that one might need while preparing for an interview. Well, that's really good to know. With that, we've come to an end to our today's podcast. I really thank you for taking out the time on the weekend. And on behalf of the entire Grow Junction family, I wish you all the very best for all of your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Manasvi. It's nice talking to you. Thank you.
Guys.